Welcome to my studio. Now today I'm going to be showing you how you can paint with oil paints on paper by using shellac. Now we typically think of just the painting surfaces that we use with oil paints as canvas, linen, or wood. However, you can also use paper, which is kind of amazing because often just painting surfaces can be quite expensive and just add up in costs. But you can pretty much use any material you want, cardboard, any sort of paper, by applying a couple or sometimes even one layer of shellac is sufficient, depending on the situation. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you, just demonstrating to you about how to use shellac and how to apply it to a piece of paper, and showing you a couple different types of paper that you could use and kind of what it looks like. And at the end of this video, I have something new I'm going to be sharing with you and showing. It's actually a new easel that I got. It's very compact and lightweight. Those are two things I really like and have been kind of searching for a long time in regards to an easel, because I do like to do plein air painting. It's not the only thing I do, but it's something that I enjoy doing and enjoy traveling and being able to paint. So I'm just going to be showing you this. I'm sharing about this easel with you in case some of you might be interested in something like this. So that's at the end of this video. Now, before I get started with the demo, I want to just kind of real quick just give a little brief overview about shellac, what it is. So essentially, it's a natural resin, and you can make your own shellac with like flakes that are sold, or you can purchase it ready-made. I'm using a ready-made one right here. So this actually comes from an art store in Florence. It's not readily available because of that, but I'm going to be listing a bunch of shellacs below. You can explore those, and again, you can make your own if you would like to with those shellac flakes. So, you know, the beautiful thing and the reason for using shellac on paper is, one, there's multiple things, but one, it allows you to create just a very economical painting surface. So typically painting surfaces are canvas, linen, or wood, and they can be, you know, they range in prices, of course, but they can be more expensive. And so painting on paper allows you to really use whatever you have, and just apply a couple layers of shellac and you quickly have a painting surface ready to go. So it's something that also allows you to quickly prepare something to paint on the go, you know, whether maybe you're on a plein air painting trip or whatnot. It, you know, it just allows you to be really quick with that, and also just use materials that are right at hand and you don't have to go out and purchase something expensive. So I love it. And also, of course, if you paint with oil paint on paper, it's not going to be archival. It's going to deteriorate because you need a barrier between that oil paint and the paper. And that's what the shellac does for you. And it's awesome. I really like the shellac because it also creates kind of this imprimatura surface, because it kind of just gets rid of the white of the page of the paper. Unless you're using toned paper, then that doesn't matter so much, but it makes it a little bit more darker, a little bit more yellowy, depending on what shellac you use, because there's some shellacs that are more bleached, and then there's some that are more amber in color, so they're darker ones. I'm using this lighter colored shellac in the demonstration, but all that to say, I really recommend. Without further ado, let's get started with the demo. Now, you really do not need a lot of materials to use shellac. Here's what I have. So some masking tape right here. Then, of course, shellac. This is the particular kind I'm using, but there's lots of different types you can use, and I'm listing those all below. So you can check below at the links that I have of just all the different types of shellac that you can get to use. And of course, a brush to apply the shellac to your painting surface. And then some kind of container. It can be a yogurt container or just kind of a glass container. And then, of course, you want some good paper, whatever paper you plan to use. Here I have this nice thick watercolor paper, but you can use thinner paper, whatever you might have on hand. Again, you could even use cardboard. So whatever you might have at home that's just easy to use. And this particular paper comes from a roll, and so it kind of curls up, and I'm mounting it to a board to just make it much easier to be able to apply the shellac. Of course, if you use more flat paper, you don't necessarily need to do this, but for this particular type of paper, it just makes it much easier. At the end of this demo, I'm also going to be showing you how you can apply shellac just to regular paper in a sketchbook. And of course, in that case, you will definitely not need to mount that onto a board. You can just go right into your sketchbook and apply it right there to that sheet of paper. All right, so now that everything is mounted and ready to go, I'm going to pour some of the shellac into my glass container. Again, you don't have to use a glass container. That's just what I had on hand. So just not a too much, just enough to apply a layer. I'm just dipping my brush and really quickly applying this shellac and kind of trying to apply it smoothly. You don't want to apply really thick layers because you don't want it to kind of goop up. You want to apply thinner layers, multiple layers of thin layers, and instead of kind of few thicker layers. And this helps to kind of create a stronger painting surface as well. These thinner layers will also create a more even painting surface, and also it will create a stronger bond just doing these thinner layers, because when you do thicker layers, it doesn't adhere very well, as well, I should say, than the thinner layers. And as you apply this shellac, it really is seeping into the paper, and it's getting into kind of those pores of the paper and creating that barrier. And the reason why we need to do this for oil painting, creating that barrier in between the paper and then the oil that you eventually will be putting on top of this. And it's really getting that prepared and ready and creating a safe place for your painting to live on, and so that your painting will be archival and it won't deteriorate eventually. So now I ran out of the shellac and I'm applying some more into my container. And one thing I do want to note and just also warn you about is that if you leave your brush just outside of the shellac for a period of time, even small periods of time, it will eventually harden. Don't be alarmed if this happens though, because you can just bring it back to normal by putting it back into the shellac again. It'll become flexible again and you'll be able to apply shellac normally. If you put it in water, it will also harden and it'll become it will have a really strange texture to it. So you need to wash it properly. When you're all done and finished with shellacking, just wash it properly in, I use Murphy's oil soap. There's other kind of cleaning material I'll list below as well that you can use to clean your brush with. All right, so here I've already started my second layer on my painting surface here. I didn't have to wait very long for the first layer to dry. It is important to wait for your layers to dry before you start the next layer, but I did not have to wait very long at all, just a really short amount of time. And that's because the type of paper I'm using is quite porous and it really absorbs the shellac quite well. So it dries really quickly, but be aware, just different types of paper dries faster, slower than other kinds of paper. And the paper I'm going to be showing, the second paper I'm going to use it at the end of this demo, is dries much more slowly. So you'll kind of be able to compare the two with each other. All right, so my second layer is all done and it's dry to the touch. You really don't need that many layers on paper when doing this. Just two is sufficient. Of course, it depends on what kind of paper you're using. You might even only need one. You can see if you put on more layers, it'll just become more glossy. And depending on what you like, maybe you want more layers, maybe you want to have more of that glassy finish. Now here I have just a regular sketchbook that I'm using, and I'm applying this shellac just right onto my sketchbook paper. And so you can see how quick and simple this can be. And this particular paper is much thinner, and it is actually a little bit more shiny just on on the surface of the paper. It isn't as porous and thick as the more watercolor type paper that I used before. So it's a very different type of paper. And I'm just working on applying that shellac as evenly as possible. And now, I wiped away some shellac that got on just pages below. That can happen easily with the sketchbook, but don't worry, it's pretty easy to just wipe away. It kind of goes away pretty quickly and pretty easily before drying. It doesn't dry that quickly. And just make sure that your sketchbook lies open while drying, because otherwise it will just stick together with the opposite page. And you can, again, just leave your brush in the shellac if you want to shellac more, because that'll keep it flexible. Otherwise, clean it with just proper soap, which I'm going to list below. Now you can see how the sketchbook paper here with the shellac is very different from the watercolor paper with the shellac, in that it's very glossy, even with just one layer of shellac. Now, I really hope you enjoyed that and will try using shellac yourself. I really do think it's worthwhile having some shellac in your studio just to have on hand for those moments when you can't find any painting surfaces to use. Then you can quickly grab some paper and use that shellac on it. Now, one note I do want to say is the shellac, the drying time for the shellac will vary in terms of what paper you use. Papers that tend to be really heavyweight, they tend to absorb the shellac fairly well, and so it dries really quickly, versus a paper that isn't as absorbent. It will take much longer for the shellac to dry because it's kind of sitting on the surface more. So just be careful of that, especially if you are putting shellac in a sketchbook notebook. You can kind of, you don't want to close it when it's still drying, because of course the pages will stick together and that won't be really fun to deal with. So be sure to let it dry fully, and you can kind of touch the edges to see if it feels gummy or sticky at all. If it does, just leave it and let it dry. But that paper that is very heavyweight, it's amazing. It like dries really fast. You can even just stand there and kind of wait 30 seconds or a minute and it's dry. So it really depends. So just be wary of that. You can even test sample a little piece of paper to kind of just know for yourself how long it might take for it to dry. All right, now as promised, I'm going to be showing you this easel. I'll take it out of its box and just give my thoughts on it. And as I kind of use it, I will be giving more thoughts on it just in future videos and just what I think of it, in case you are interested in something similar. So myself, maybe you're similar, I really enjoy taking my art supplies with me when I travel and painting where I go. However, I've found that it's really difficult and hard kind of when things are heavy and it's a lot to carry and it really weighs on you, literally. So I appreciate when just supplies is really lightweight and easy to carry around. So I was excited when the company reached out to me and just offered to send this to me to try out. So I'm just sharing with you my real, just open, honest thoughts about this, because I only want to talk about something that I personally enjoy, and I will be very honest about what I think about it. So I'll unpack it and show it to you. All right, so I've taken it out of its box and this is what it looks like when it's all folded up. So it's, relatively lightweight. It's not super lightweight, like there's definitely some weight to it. But you could easily fit it into a suitcase or a backpack, depending just on how long your backpack is, or you could carry in a tote bag, so that those things would be very reasonable to for this. All right, here I got the easel set up. It was pretty darn simple and quick to get it all set up and out. So I'm really excited, actually, just pulling it out and seeing it, and can have a fairly large sized board that I can put on here. So I actually have what I've used before for traveling is like a little pochade box, but I'm very limited in size. I can only use an 8x10 size board, and of course that limits my painting to 8x10 or smaller than that. But this, I could do something much larger. I'd put a board on here. And my initial concern, though, is that it does feel a bit kind of plastic-like, just the material. So my question is just how long would it last? Just would it hold up to wear and tear and all that? Because I do use my things fairly hard. So because I move around a lot, I can be a bit more, get into my painting a little bit more and kind of press down on things. So yeah, so that would be my question, but I will be using it, and then I'll share about that, how things hold up and how it works and all that. But I really wanted to just show it to you. And I do plan on painting outside at some point, and I'll be talking about how that goes with this. So keep your eyes peeled on that. And I want to quickly give you a more close-up view of the easel, and in particular this area where your painting will sit on. So there's these areas down below, these supports that come out where your canvas will sit on, and then at the top, this area actually extends up, which is great, so it accommodates for larger paintings. Now, if you have a super lightweight easel that you like to use and recommend, please let me know in the comment section below. I'm always all ears to learn about just different options that are out there. Also would love to hear your thoughts on shellac, if you've used it, if you plan to use it, if you have any questions at all, please let me know in the comment section below, or if you'd just like to say hi. I always love hearing from you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.